Okay, we had some questions about character design. Alright, this is not going to be organized whatsoever. I don't usually make these, so this is kind of gonna be like slapped together. Alright, so today we're going to design Wings of Fire OCs. Fun. Bunch of dragons. Everybody loves dragons. Alright, so okay, so there's a few different things to keep in mind. I know some people can't really draw that well, so they use bases. And while there's nothing really wrong with that, the problem with bases is that your dragons are all going to have the same shape, size, facial features. You're going to have like anime same face syndrome, where basically all you do is change the eyes and the hair, and that's it. So my recommendation is try your best to actually draw your design, or edit the, if it's allowed, if the artist is cool with it, edit your base that you're working with in order to have not just scars and colors, but maybe, you know, maybe your character is a little chubby, or maybe your character has big legs, etc. So I'm gonna start out with a character of mine that I recently designed. My motto with character design is keep it simple. If you want to draw your character over and over again, keep the design able to be drawn several times without you wanting to rip your hair out. Simple, but also you want something unique about it. And when I say unique, I don't mean it has to be half devil, half angel, or anything crazy like that. It can be something simple. So I'm going to draw a character of mine that I just recently created and talk through kind of what makes her unique compared to other dragons of her kind. So her name is Lioness, and she's a sandwing. And normally sandwings are like this light yellow color or whatever. So I'm going to start off with her body shape first, and talk about how her body shape is a little bit different. Not like crazy different, but enough to kind of make her stand out. So so I started off thinking, okay, so I have a character, her name is Lioness, so she's probably going to be kind of strong. So I start off with sort of a squarish, blocky design of her head. Okay. Alright, we got her ear. And she's fairly young. She's only 8 years old, which in dragon years is like 20-ish, around that. Okay, she's got the normal, you know, her little beak or whatever is there. She's got a horn on the side of her face like sandwings do, but it's not too big because, again, she's young, so I kind of think, you know, the younger the dragon, the shorter their horns are, and as you grow, their horns get really long. So there's her horn, and then her two main horns are just pretty standard dragon horns, just you know, just kind of curving back and up. So because I wanted her to be kind of stocky, let's do a little body line to establish where her neck and spine will be. So you know, you do want to stick to anatomy, which I'll do more in depth in another video, but don't go too crazy with stuff that makes no sense. So she's gonna keep enough room in her neck and throat to have all the important stuff in there. Okay, so, and I'm gonna keep her neck pretty thick because, again, she's pretty muscular. And then from the fact that her name is Lioness and she's muscular, I also developed a little bit of story from that. Her first job was in Possibility, which is a town in the canon world of Wings of Fire. And she, because she's naturally kind of big, she was hired as a, to help out with like moving packages and warehouse and stuff like that. She's basically like an Amazon worker, except she moves all the heavy things. Okay, we're gonna make her shoulder fairly round and big. And I wanted my character to not really be mean. She's pretty friendly, so keeping that in mind, there's not a lot of like triangles or sharp corners. So the horn would be round here. Her face is kind of like squarish in shape. Triangles tend to be like pointy things and stuff like that, tend to sort of tell you a character is bad or dangerous. So you kind of want to avoid that and make like even the little horns and stuff rounded on the end. Okay, and then all right, she's kind of got a broad chest. All right, pretty in shape, so she's not going to be too chubby or anything. Okay, all right, and then her tail. So far she looks like your average dragon in shape. The only thing unique about her is that she's just a little bit big and muscular, nothing too crazy. All right, there's her scorpion tail. Okay, there's her legs, her little feet. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much crazy detail there. Okay, so and then for her sail, I kept the shape pretty standard. She's got like this on the back of her head right here. I kind of tend to draw that there all the time, so it's kind of stuck, became a thing, which will happen as you develop characters as well. So she's got her sail, it gets short and then long over her butt. Get short again. There we go. Okay, and then a lot of dragons in Wings of Fire have the belly, and then they kind of have like two lines of scales. So there's like the top really big ones. I don't like to draw every single thing, so I usually keep them pretty big and simple. All right, there's the belly, underside here. Okay, and then I was, as I was developing her, I'm like, okay, so what's gonna make her different? I decided, because her name is Lioness, she's going to have the colors themed after a lion. So instead of like that bright sandy yellow you get with most sand wings, I decided on a golden color. So let's see if I can find her. Okay, so I literally went and looked up pictures of lions and color picked from them to give her these nice golden colors. So she's got, wait, no, that's the wrong part. So she's got her mane scales are like this nice, and it's still within the realm of possibility for a sandwing. So it's still kind of got a yellowish tint to it, but it's just a little different, just something a little tiny bit different. Where she's still unique, but she's not like, you know, wildly out of place. Okay, and then we've got like her top scales are always a little darker here. There we go. And then her little beak thing that dragons have is going to be even a little bit darker. And then her sail is a dark color. Right. I also gave her eyes are a beautiful golden color, just like a lion. But the sclera, just like any average sandwing, is still going to be black in color. Usually it's supposed to be all black, but I don't think anybody actually does that because I don't know, that looks weird and creepy. And it's also sort of boring because that's the only color you get. So, just a little bit smaller. All right. And then another thing that I wanted to do, I did see that there's a lot of sandwings that kind of have a pattern, especially like along the large parts of their scales, kind of like Blister from the Wings of Fire series. So they can be patterned after, like, you know, usually you would go for something like a snake, like a diamondback or something cool like that. But for Nessa, I just kind of did a simple stripe. So along the edge of all of her big scales, it ends in like a little stripe. This is a nice little dark brown stripe. And then I thought, okay, well, she looks nice, but so far, you know, there's nothing like super crazy about her that's incredibly different. But I didn't want to go too far, so one thing that I did that I don't see a lot of people do is I extended the stripe like a zebra's mane from her back like into her sail. So she's got some stripes on her little fin, and that just adds like a little extra element of like, oh, that's different. So, and then the rest of her body is colored pretty much like standard pattern for a sandwing, you know, lighter underbelly, the backs of the legs are lighter, the under the feet, you know, things like that. And her wings are pretty standard too. The only thing I think I added to the wing is that her wing, there we go, so this would be the back of her wing, so the dorsal side. So if you're looking down at her and she's got her wings spread, that would be the back side. So the only thing I really did for that was I sort of made it into a little gradient at the ends. So imagine that's like blended in all pretty. So a little bit of gradient at the ends. That's about it. So nothing insane here. So that's Nessa, or her name is Lioness, but she goes by Nessa. And just from like, the first thing that I started with was the name. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And it fit a sandwing pretty well. I'm like, all right, cool. So Lioness, what does that make me think of? Makes you think of strength and power. Makes you think of like a stocky cat. And I based her colors, her build, her eyes to that. And then I added the little stripe because I just thought it was cute and, you know, something a little bit different, but not too crazy. And I was also on the fact that, lionesses are from the savannah and zebras live there too, so I think that's kind of where I got the idea for the striped mane. And then from her design, I got some hints for her backstory, which was, you know, her first job in Possibility was lifting stuff and moving things, and that's kind of why she's so strong. I also sort of went opposite. Her mom is basically who gave her the colors and her, like, the tall genes, basically. Her mom is big and buff just like she is. But her mom is, like, tough and loud and likes to fight, and Nessa is more like her dad, who is a lot more quiet and likes to read. So while Nessa is really tough and strong and big, she actually prefers to sit down and read a nice book or sketch, which I thought was a really adorable contrast. So, like, she's basically like the gentle giant. All right. So now that you have listened to me talk about my character, let's do, say you want to do a rain wing or silk wing or something, and you want them to have some crazy colors, you want them to be loud, you want them to be looking wild and everything. So a couple of things I would suggest that if you do that, you go look up real life very brightly colored wild animals. because they have some really lovely patterns and things like that. So you kind of know, you get some ideas or inspiration. And another thing I would suggest is make sure your colors don't really clash, and make sure that even if you do use some bright colors, maybe mix in some things that aren't quite as saturated, just so you get more pops of color that stand out. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay. All right, so say I want to design a rain wing. And when I draw rain wings, I make them pretty triangular and sharp. So if you want to create a friendly rain wing, that would be a bit of a challenge. Right. Got the frill. Got the ear. I like to make their horns bendy and skinny, kind of like impalas. Big eyes. All right. And then I actually looked up some goofy animals with really skinny necks, and there are some that are really funny. So I generally give them pretty thin bodies, pretty like lithe and bendy, because that's sort of what they do, is they're climbers, things like that. Okay. Gecko toes. When you're designing your character, you want to keep in mind all these things too, is their species, where they live, what they eat, what they do, and just go with it, because you'll design some really cool characters that make a lot of sense, and people will be all impressed, like, wow, that's so clever. All right, so you got your little curly tail. I tend to design the wings like after I kind of get the body down first. But if the wings are an integral part of your creature, like say a silk wing based off a butterfly, you can draw them in there. It's character design is sort of whatever you make of it. Okay, so this guy, let's see, let's base him off of a toucan. Toucans are cool, right? So let's pick a nice dark color. Don't go too dark, and also when you choose a black, don't make it actually black. Make it like very, very dark gray. Choose a color. Choose one that's got a little bit of color in it. Like this one's kind of a bluish purple. And trust me, it makes a lot of difference. Alright. Alright, and we know ring wings are complex, but you don't have to make them actually complex. You can give them the appearance of complexity without murdering your hand. So here we go. Got his back. I'm assuming this is a guy. Got his back and everything. His tail. Okay, and then his horns, I'm actually going to make a nice dark, even darker. Okay. All right. Alright, and then his eye can be a lovely bright reddish orange. eyes you can go crazy with on dragons because they're dragons. So do what you want. Do what your heart tells you. Okay. And then for toucans, we know, itchy nose. We know their beaks are a lovely, like, bright yellow. So we can do that for his little beaks that dragons tend to have in Rings of Fire. Okay, and if you want, you can even drag that color in a little simple stripe like that. And then toucans also have part of their beak becomes a different color, and you can have that go under his eye there. And then for the top of his head, we can do another orange, but we can make it like a little bit, even a little darker than that. So that'll be like his brows, that little top bit of the horn that they have going there. Okay, and ring wings tend to have kind of like a stripe along their back. So we're gonna give him a lovely orange stripe. It goes all the way down. All right, and then something fun you can do with his little ears is, well, let's get this ear is gonna be black, and then for his frill, you can take one of the lighter colors that you have for him, put it down, and something simple that I like to do is use gradients, but they don't have to be as complicated as you think. Hang on. So we're just gonna do like this. Normally you'd have cleaner line art and you could just select within there, but I don't have that at the moment, so you can select that and then use your gradient tool and select a darker or whatever color you want, or even because this character so far is monochrome and kind of an orangey color, I might even go with like a pop of a complementary color, so a nice green, and look how nice that looks. So when I say complementary color, hopefully you guys know what that is. If not, you basically have all these different colors on the color wheel. Right. Hold on, let me put them in the correct spot. Got blues. You got like a purple, you got pink, got more of a red, got orange, got yellow, green, a little bit of a darker green. So all these colors have something, when they're complementary, usually a color over here corresponds to a color somewhere over here. You don't have to go exactly complementary because usually purple is yellow and red is green, but if you just go adjacent, like see that red would look really nice with that green or with that blue or with that. If you put it next to some of the same colors, that's, you know, you're just using kind of a more subdued palette, I suppose. Something that's a little not monochromatic, but oh, gosh, I forgot the word for it. I'll get back to you on that, but there's a word for that. Okay, so I would say for his belly, we could actually leave it a nice white color, just like the underside of a toucan. Maybe the underside of his jaw too, inside of his ear. Okay. All right, and then his little feet. Use one color, like this. Okay, and then since Wings of Fire dragons usually have those like different colored plates on their legs, you can do something like this, where you do like 3 or 4 that go up the leg here. Maybe if you want the toes to be that color, right? And then if you want, you can even continue those orange spots up the shoulders, up the leg a little bit. Okay, and then the spines on the back. So those usually follow one of these back colors, but honestly, you could do what you want with them. I would probably actually take this and even go further into a red territory, just to kind of give it that one little pop. And with the spines, you know, don't do too many of them. I know in the books they like to do like a crazy amount of them, but I would say keep it to around 10-ish on the back, maybe like 4 or 5 on the back of the neck. So yeah, I chose a sandwing just because it's so much easier just to do one whole thing. And then on the tail, I tend to stop after like 4 or 5, just so you don't drive yourself crazy. Okay, and then we're gonna use this color here, since Rainwings usually sort of have dots along the larger scales on their back, like the ones that I had on Nessa. So let's use our complementary color for that, to sort of pull the design together. Again, don't do too many all in a row. Like, you could even do fewer than this and get away with it. If you look at designs for like animated things, they don't do even this much. Usually you'll get like 1 or 2 main colors, and then you have like maybe 1 other accent. And a lot of times they'll lessen like any dots or anything on the body, they'll lessen it to like 3 of them, like 3 spines total on the whole thing. It's just a lot less labor to do it that way, because you have to draw that character over and over again. All right. Okay, so there is Toucan, the Rainwing. So that's one idea you could do. You could even say this guy, because of the color, you could even say that it's a part Nightwing because it's dark. Or it could just be just a Rainwing, because Rainwings can honestly be whatever color they want, which is pretty fun. Same with Silkwings, they can also just be whatever color they really want. Okay, I'll do the horn too. If you eyeball it and there's something about it you don't like, you're free to change it as many times as you want. So that's one guy. So if we wanted to take this Rainwing, okay, Toucan the Rainwing, there he looks like an average dude, right? Okay, but if we wanted to take a Rainwing's face and make it look friendlier or younger, we're gonna have to try to make it rounder, which is really hard for a Rainwing, right? All you have to do is, remember how I told you for the horns for Nessa I sort of rounded them out at the tips? Same thing here. To make them friendlier, make the eyes lower on the face, a little bigger. Maybe make the pupils a little bit bigger too. Okay, and then the little frills, round them out. Right, and then the horns, tips aren't going to be so pointy. Maybe less of a jagged design on the horns there. Okay, and then the little horn on the tip. Tip of the beak is going to be rounder. Maybe the cheeks are a little rounder. So there you go. And then if you want to make the talons a little friendlier, round those out too. They can still be thin. They can still look like a rainwing. It's just those subtle little design changes, like instead of this, right? You have your finger that looks like this, a little rounder. Okay, easy peasy. All right, I actually kind of like this guy. I might keep him. Okay. All right, and then for hybrids, honestly, you just kind of take, I would say that you try not to be too picky about splitting the genes of two hybrids in like right down the middle. I mean, if you look at Darkstalker and things like that, he heavily favored a Nightwing look, and had like just a few traits of Icewing. So for the most part, like even like Sunny, her dominant feature was Sandwing. I mean, she didn't have the barb because of her Nightwing heritage, but yeah, which makes me think, honestly, maybe dragons take after their mom the most. Interesting. Theories. So when you're designing a hybrid, it could be any two dragons. I mean, they've had ice and mud wings together. They've had all kinds of different dragons together. You want to take into account kind of which one it's going to look like more, what color scheme are you going to go with, because like while a rainwing is basically has the entire rainbow, if you pair it with something like a sea wing, you probably want to keep the colors a little more sea wing-esque, just because if you do that, then it's more instantly recognized as a hybrid that has some sea wing in it. And you want to take the elements of both dragons and sort of put them together. So let's do our sea wing rainwing hybrid. So I like to draw sea wings pretty round, but we have rainwings who are pretty sharp and pointy, so it's somewhere in the middle. Okay, got those nice little catfish tendrils on the chin. And then usually I do sea wing ears kind of round, like a little round and small, like a sea lion. The horns sort of lead from the skull instead of having a stop. They just sort of lead from the skull outwards, a little bit like a seahorse is sort of how I think about it. Okay. All right. Maybe they have the big eyes like a rainwing. Right. Okay. And then sea wings, I imagine, are sort of thicker bodied, but also graceful at the same time. Sort of like a seal or a dolphin or a whale. They're not exactly thin creatures, but they are still very graceful and flowy. So you got your sea wing. So their talons. Normally the way I would draw a sea wing talon would be kind of like a little chubby gator foot. Right, like here's the palm. Short little stubby toes. Little webbing. But since it's a hybrid, they probably have longer fingers. Now remember, dragons can hold things like people, so they do have opposable thumbs. But they still have the webbing. So, a little longer toes. Okay, got the horn on the other side. Okay, and then since it's a rainwing hybrid, they're going to have that telltale frill. But since it's also a sea wing, maybe you want to make it a little droopy and a little bit like a little rounded. you know, just kind of mix it up a little bit. And then the fin, and don't forget the fin here. Maybe it's a little, you know, the spikes on it are a little longer, just like a rain wings, right? And then for your sea wing, you also have those little glowy spots, which you can, if they're a rain wing hybrid, I kind of like to play with those and make those any color you want. They could even be like, you know, disco rainbow lights or whatever the heck you want. But for the rest of the body, I tend to keep it still within the realm of sea wing. Unless they retain the full capability of camouflage, then, you know, do what you want. Okay, and they still have that paddle tail of a sea wing, but maybe the end of it is a little bit like a seahorse where it's like curled like a rain wings. So this dragon could probably move around in the water by kind of like a real seahorse does, by hooking onto things in the water so they don't float away. So yeah, that's just a few tips here and there for some character design. I'm not sure really what else to go over, but if you have some suggestions or if you have requests, let me know, and I can try my best to help out with that. Hopefully this helped some of you guys out in designing a character. So the main tips are: design from the ground up. Always design with your body shape in mind of your dragon. Like, what is their face shape going to be like? Like example with Nessa, she was more blocky and stocky and strong versus a normal sandwing shape. Second is, you know, you do decide your color palette. It's recommended to keep it within the realm of reality for that dragon or for the hybrid species, but you can add a pop here and there of something a little bit different, like Nessa's stripes, or the fact that she's a little more brown shaded than yellow, but still got that golden color. You want to make sure you include elements of whatever tribe of dragon you choose. So like the toes of the rain wing, or the thick svelte body of a sea wing, and definitely try to choose which one is a little more dominant. And then for your colorful characters, make sure their color scheme is still something that looks nice to the eye and doesn't like burn. Like bright colors are not a bad thing. It's just when you have too many of them at once. So keep it with little pops of color and they will stand out more that way. I think that's all I got for now. Yeah, I will, I'll do another one of these if you guys want, okay? So, see ya. Bye-bye.